today. Regardless of what course you're from, it doesn't matter. There are so many roles and opportunities out there that you just don't know what you don't know yet. Because it's amazing to have the opportunity to have RTE out in IADT. This is Zbyszek Zalinski, and I'm going to allow him to introduce himself now in a second. So he's going to tell you exactly what he does. I think we're going to start with kind of, you know, what you're doing now, Zbyszek, and you know, and what you're, because you've got a very interesting job in RTE, and it gives you the view of all of the other jobs in RTE, so you know exactly what's there and exactly what they're looking for, and that's pretty much what these guys want to know, you know. So that's what we all want to know. How'd you get in, right? But let's kind of base that in kind of what your journey was, because that's sometimes the most interesting piece of any conversation, you know. We all get kind of such knowledge about from what other people's journeys were. Sometimes it's really surprising where they were before now, because we normally think that this trajectory is really straight, and a lot of times it's not. So, so Zbyszek, I'll hand over to you.
Thank you so much, Dawn. And my trajectory definitely has not been linear, and it has been really squiggly, one could say. But Dawn said that it's so great to have RTE here, but I must say that it's so great for RTE, or me representing RTE, to be actually here with you and to see so many bright, young, creative faces. It's always really energizing to be you know, amongst people who choose careers in the creative sector, in the sector that is so important to RTE, because we run on creativity, we run on stories. And I guess, you know, Dawn mentioned, you know, you want to know, you know, how do you get in and what skills are important to work in RTE. And I've already mentioned, I guess, the most important one, the skill of creativity. And we can explore it a little bit further on in terms of what I mean by that and what does that actually entail. Dawn mentioned that I might tell you a little bit about myself, what I do right now, and how I ended up doing what I'm doing. So I guess for me, for my story, and for everyone else's, you know, my personal story is slightly intertwined with my professional story, because I am not Irish. I moved to Ireland 20 years ago from Poland, and I moved here to study or to do a PhD in political science. And that was my kind of career path that I had in front of me. I wanted to be a scientist or social scientist, and I wanted to be an academic, and that was what I wanted to do, and that's why I moved to Ireland. Because I actually, before I moved to do my PhD, I had lived in Ireland for a year as part of my Erasmus, and I was in Limerick. And here and there, probably my interest slightly in the media started, because I volunteered at a Wired FM, a student radio station in Mary I and UL, and I worked a little bit with them throughout my year when I was doing my Erasmus there. And you know, I fell in love slightly with radio. I fell in love slightly with, not slightly, but I fell in love with radio. I fell in love with Ireland. I decided to come back. I came back to do my degree, or my postgrad degree, and that's how I ended up in Ireland. And then, through very squiggly and very kind of non-linear paths, I ended up in RTE. I ended up in RTE because you know, there was a need, or there was an opening for a presenter of a program on RTE Radio 1. It was a program called Spectrum, which looked at kind of multiculturalism or different cultures and ethnicities, which you know make Ireland, and that was back in 2007. So I ended up presenting that program, and then through various competitions and through various, you know, public competitions, etc., I stayed in RTE. That program finished, but I stayed on in RTE because I wanted to continue my journey in the media. So I had two parallel careers for a little while. I had my academic career, finishing my degree and finishing my PhD, and then working in RTE, and also going for different jobs within RTE in terms of furthering my career or getting, you know, getting an appointment there through public competitions that were available, right? So I do have a good insight, I think, in terms of the skills you need, the processes you go through, because I have taken part in a number, 4 or 5 different competitions, I guess, if my memory serves me right. So throughout my time in RT, I have done all various jobs, right? I presented programs, I was a reporter on programs, I was a researcher on programs, I was a producer on programs. I worked mainly in radio, and I worked across both Radio 1 and 2 FM. I worked on news and current affairs programs, magazine programs, arts programs, music programs, youth programs, nighttime programs, morning programs,
wow.
all of those. I picked up the phones, I did studio, I did all of that, right? And so that gives me a good insight into working in radio. And then a couple of years ago, I went for yet another job in RT, a new job, which is looking after and taking care of diversity and inclusion for the whole organization. So it was a new position created back in 2018, and that's the position that I'm in right now. So I look after D&I for the whole organization, which means that I look after inclusion both internally and in terms of the diversity of the people who are within RT and also the candidates that we attract into our jobs. But I also look at representation on our programs. And by representation, I mean representing Ireland as it is in 2023, looking especially at communities that are or have been traditionally underrepresented in the world of media in Ireland and elsewhere, and communities that are underrepresented in our lives or public lives in Ireland at the moment. So yeah, I work with the DG. So I report to the CEO or to the DG of the company, and I work with all my colleagues across the organization, both in content, but also in HR and in ACM, which is audience channels and marketing, in operations and technology, et cetera, because as you can imagine, it's a role, and the EDI/DI questions and the importance of it touches all different parts of the organization. So yeah, that's a very, very, very quick. I didn't know that I can do it so quickly.
Yeah, it is. What an amazing career to have had in terms of like working in every single different area in RT, from programming to research to, because that gives us a wealth of information now that we can pull on. And when we're talking about, well, how'd you get in? How'd you get in, Zbyszek? We know that those routes and what they are. But I suppose one of the things that kind of that kind of strikes me there was so you were talking about kind of working all over the organisation. Oh, I've lost that question now. Sorry, I'm going to move on.
Is it about progress, or is it about moving departments, or?
Yeah, actually, like, is that easy enough to do? Are you like, is that moving department stuff? Is that kind of encouraged? Is that something that you had to really work at? Like, you went in as one thing, and then to work at something else, was that difficult, or?
So, I think. There are many different ways of looking at it, right? In terms of moving across different departments within any organization. Because for some people, they want to specialize in one thing, right? So you want to be a photographer, or you want to be a set designer, you want to work in wardrobe, or whatever it is. And that's what you want to do, and you want to become the best at it, and you don't want to move anywhere else, right? Of course, then you're just staying where you are, and you can enjoy what you're doing. Some people are polymaths, or some people want to have experience from all different places. They feel like their skills are transferable, and that they can, they want to learn as well more about other stuff, or they might get bored and they might want to do something else, and they might want to experience something else. Then I think the organization is very open to making sure that people's talents, people's skills are used and developed across the whole organization. Of course, sometimes it might be difficult because you need to find an opening, or you need to find a space for the particular person and their talents, and how it, it has to all coalesce in a way, the right person at the right time, at the right place, and so on. But I think the organization is really open to making sure that the talent that we have within the organization thrives, that people develop, that people learn, that people can, learn new skills, develop new skills, make sure that these skills stay, very much up to scratch in terms of developments in the industry, technological developments, etc., etc. So I think it is absolutely 100% possible.
Okay, and so there are people sitting here, and they're obviously sitting here because they have an interest in broadcasting, they have an interest in maybe costume, they have an interest in wardrobe, or whatever it is that they have an interest in, and they're sitting here and they're in second year, they're in third year, they're in final year. Actually, we've got a few people who've already graduated here as well, and they're looking at you and they're going, "That's great, Zbyszek, you've got a great job, we love it, love the trajectory you've had to RT. Now, how do I get in, Zbyszek? Like, what do I do? I'm in second year. Is there a chance for me to get some work experience? Or I've just graduated and I've just come out of costume and I'm doing really well, but I'd love to get into wardrobe and RTE. Like, how do we do it?
There is no kind of a magic solution, right? That is different to just normal routes of applying for competitions, getting ready for competitions, refreshing the vacancies website, making sure that you have it bookmarked, making sure that you are aware of those competitions, that you study them carefully. And sometimes it's a question of going for a number of competitions, unfortunately, perhaps not being successful in one or two of them, but constantly learning from those competitions, getting that feedback, applying that feedback, changing things in terms of what you've heard from the recruiters or from the panel, etc., etc. So that's one thing,
and
right?
Can I just say, just don't lose what you're going to say next. Please hang on to it. I'm interrupting now, so please don't lose it, catch it. This is what we've been hearing all week. Keep trying again and again. Like, stop. Don't just send us one CV and then go, "Oh no, they didn't accept me and I'm gone." I hear that so much. I didn't hear anything from them and I'm gone. It's the person who keeps knocking. It's the person who shows that they're really interested. It's the person who gets that feedback and actually does something with it. So when they come back the next time, they're going, "Well, you said this and I did that."
I think, going for a job, I'm trying to remember the other stuff and I'm putting it here, but just exploring a little bit the whole topic or the whole theme or the whole experience of going for a job, right? Or going for a job interview, etc., etc. I think there's a whole skill or a number of skills connected to that, right? What you apply for, how you apply, obviously interview skills, and then getting the feedback, connecting with the panel in terms of maybe connecting with them again, sending them an email afterwards, writing down the names of who interviewed you, Googling them afterwards, finding more information about them, finding more information obviously about the company, the person, the department before you go into the interview. All of that is a job in itself, right? And by no means am I saying that this is not stressful or this is not time consuming or that, people have to also earn a living and they might be doing another job while they're looking for this job or applying for other jobs and so on. I am aware of that, and I have examples from my own life when I was working a number of jobs while also working part-time in RT, while also doing my PhD, right? So it's not that I'm speaking just theoretically, I do remember those moments in my own life, but I try to look at, most things that I do as a project almost. Yeah. So looking for a job or looking for a job in creative industries or finding what you want to do in the creative industries and what is that unique thing that you can give back in a way or that you can add to the job, how you're going to present yourself, what is it that makes you you, what is that unique package that you're selling, right? Selling in a good way, I'm not being super mercenary about it, but selling in terms of proposing to your future employers. I think that you have to start looking at it. What are the smallest steps you can take, and kind of map it all out, right? With the goal in mind of getting your dream job, whatever that dream job is. You have to decide what it is, right? And maybe reverse engineering from there. The dream job is to be person X, Y, and Z in company X, Y, and Z, but maybe I can take interim steps towards that dream job by taking a smaller job someplace else, by maybe preparing a smaller project that then I can present as part of my portfolio and ongoing work towards that job, right? Making sure that that project is also connected somehow to the job you're applying for, that it's not sort of abstract almost.
So you're essentially seeing what it is, what is it that do they want, and how can I get closer to that? And maybe the job that I take first day with them isn't the job that I actually want, but it's getting me in the door. And now how do I make my way towards the XYZ job? That's my dream.
Yes, and I also think that sometimes when I speak to candidates and when I interview candidates, I sometimes want to kind of maybe meet them afterwards or give them some feedback in terms of exactly that. I see that they have potential. I see that they have done a lot. I've seen from their applications or CVs that there's something there. But they sometimes I feel either people are shy of mentioning it, of having a list of all their accomplishments and kind of like really hammering those points. Also, just connecting those experiences to the job that they're going for. There seems to be like a disconnect sometimes where you sit in front of people and they just, you know, mention a couple of things, but they don't really make a connection between what they have achieved, whether it's in school or whether it's in college or whether it's elsewhere, with the job they're going for.
So can I just cut in there for 1 second? Again, I really don't want to interrupt here, but like, you know, please, and I've said this in the last session as well, because a similar conversation came up, okay? And, you know, please do not go for an interview without coming to me for a mock interview first. It's a game changer. You know, there's absolutely, you've got to do it, because there's absolutely no point in going in and rambling through your interview when you could go in. 90% of the work that you do for an interview happens before the interview ever happens. The interview itself is only 10%. If you're going in to do 90% of your work in the interview and you think that that represents 90% of you, you're in the wrong game. So doing a mock interview is so important so that you're articulating yourself for the interviewer, so that Zbyszek is sitting there going, I see, so that you're connecting everything that you do, because your two best friends in an interview are the words, for example. They're your two best friends. All of your other friends can go and get lost for a little while. These are your two best friends in an interview. So you've got to bring your examples in with you, and those examples need to connect to the job that you're going for. So please, if you do anything, and I don't want to leave them with anything I say today, it's what Zbyszek says today, but please come for a mock interview if you're going for an interview. I don't care when, I don't care if your interview is tomorrow, we'll work it out. We'll have a mock interview at 7 o'clock in the morning, 9 o'clock tonight, we'll work it out. But don't go in without having a mock interview first. And by the way, ideally, you need 2 sessions before you go into your interview. So don't ring me the night before if you had a week before that, okay? Sorry, Zbyszek.
Not at all, and I agree with everything that Dawn said. I think, you know, I'm not shy of saying that I will be there in front of a mirror rehearsing, you know, the opening parts of my interviews. Don't underestimate the power of the first couple of minutes. Usually, most interviews start with a very open question about, you know, just to calm people down, to tell the interviewers or the panel about yourselves. And many candidates do not grasp that opportunity to really start off and present themselves and their achievements and connect with the job and connect with the ad, connect with the organization, connect with the people that are interviewing them.
So I'm taking this quote out of here, by the way, when I re-listen to this, and I'm actually going to put his name beside it and put it up on a wall somewhere. So you just watch out for that quote, because it's
just such a and I honestly, like I as I said, I am not shy about it at all. I just had scripts upon scripts written down, timed, 1 minute, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, depending on the length of the interview, depending on the importance of the job. I would rehearse them. I would rehearse them in front of a mirror. I would record myself and watch it back and perfect it. That's what you have to do, you know? If you're serious about it, in my opinion, that's what you have to do. Whatever the job is, whether it's a job, you know, an entry-level job or whether it's a senior job, you have to treat it seriously because you want to put the value on yourself, right? If you value yourself, what you bring to the job, what skills you have, the education, experience, dedication, enthusiasm for what you do, then showcase that value by treating yourself seriously and also the process seriously.
Yeah, and what I find is that you have the skills. Like when I work with people in a mock interview, the skills are there.
Yes,
They're
yes.
absolutely
And that's
there. But you're just not articulating them.
That's what's sometimes heartbreaking,
Yeah.
you know, because you see candidates and you see that they have it, but they're just not showcasing it all. And how can you score them then? So think about the building blocks that you have and where those building blocks of skills and experience could be applied to, right? By saying what kind of jobs there are in RT or in creative industries or in broadcasting service, broadcast industries, you know, sometimes I say to people, study the credits, right? So study the credits of TV productions, look up the names, and then use Google and LinkedIn to see who these people are. How did they get there? What have they done in their careers to get to the point that they are at?
That's such a
right?
fantastic tip, actually.
So, you know, who is a VT operator? Who is a color grader? What other courses did they do? Did they go here? Did they go to another arts college? You know, did they do professional diplomas? I don't know what it is, right? Because like I did not study media, right? But and look at the skills also that they mention, right? Because sometimes people put skills on their LinkedIn websites. Try and take a look. Are there networking events where you can go and meet those people? Screen Ireland organizes quite a lot of events like this. Screen Ireland also organizes courses for people who want to get into screen industries and so on. So I think they are a very important resource for people who want to break into screen industries in Ireland. And I would encourage you also to check out their websites. And then, in terms of other ways, RTE commissions a lot of programs with independent production companies. So, so that's another route of getting into the industry, to work on programs, to work on productions, to work on TV productions, and to, you know, there is a way there of creating and working on programs that are shown, commissioned, and produced for, commissioned and shown on RTE, but produced by independent production companies.
So, for example, right? I have one of my best friends is the producer on the Tommy Tiernan show, and that's a different production company that come in and they produce that show every year. Now, they work with the production team in RTE as well.
Yes.
So there's a production team in RTE linked to them, and they both work together. But the bulk of the work is done by their production company. So that's what you're talking about right there. It's these production companies.
So it's the same for First Dates. It's the same for Dancing with the Stars. It's the same for Kin. It's the same for, you know, a host of other programs. You know, some of the fact entertainment programs, etc. So you can take a look at the website of Screen Producers Ireland, SPI or SPI. And they should have a list there of independent production companies such as Coco Television or you know, VIP Productions or whatever it is.
Another place is IFTN. If you've ever been to the IFTN website, the Irish Film and Television Network website, so it's iftn.ie. I don't know whether I can say this, but you know, it probably looks, the website looks as if it was created in the 1970s, even though we had no computers in the 1970s. But
if the information is there,
amazing amount of information. It's unbelievable. It has every single production company in Ireland there. Not only just listed the name of the production company, you click in and you get the name of the person to contact, you get the website, you get all of the information there. It's a one-stop shop. It just doesn't quite look like it when you go onto the website. You're kind of, oh, it looks like a magazine. So don't be put off. What I'm trying to say, sorry, and that may just be me, and sorry, IFTN, I really am sorry, I don't mean that. You know, that may just be me, you know, but actually it has an unbelievable amount of information, and I would challenge you to go and look and say, oh my God, this isn't good. It's amazing.
I would say, you know, you're all digital natives, so because you're all 30 years younger than I am, but. Fortunately for me. But what I would do, I would start a notebook, or I would start a new folder on your phone or whatever it is, a new note in your phone or whatever it is, with a project, like project job or project interviews or project, whatever it is, right? And start making notes and collecting those notes and collecting observations, collecting different job ads. What do these jobs need? What are they asking for? What are the essential skills? What are the desirable skills? How can I get those skills? What do I have to do? What do I have at the moment? What do I have to work on? How can I get those other extra things? Are there any ways I can get them doing something on my own, or do I have to get involved with projects voluntarily, or whatever it is, right? But start collecting all this information in one place, reviewing it, whatever your approach is, creating a mind map or creating a process map or whatever, step by step of what it is to get there, right? And whatever that end goal is. But be strategic about it. Do you know what I mean? Be prepared, be strategic, rehearse. And you've got so many resources these days, both in terms of IADT, careers office, but also online. There's just so much information there on YouTube.
You know that everybody here has free access to LinkedIn Learning. Right, so there's every course you could imagine on LinkedIn Learning.
Yes.
Just as you're talking about courses, and you have that for free right now. I honestly can't actually tell you how much the college paid, because it actually makes me physically ill to think about the price they paid to get everybody access to LinkedIn Learning. So you've got to utilize it while you have it. It's not going to be free for you again. And it's the same with the team focus tests that I have. It's never going to be free for you again. If you were to come to me offline, if you were to come and see me in my private practice, it would cost you €650 to have a 3-session package. You're getting that free in IADT. So you've got to start to utilize the resources, as you say, that are there. So, these things are kind of really important.
Yeah, creating a notebook or creating one central place where you collect this information. Creating a playlist on YouTube with videos of people talking about their career journeys or the skills that they've developed, etc. Also, you can find loads of videos on YouTube about interview skills or preparing for interviews and so on. Getting an appointment with Dawn while you can, getting those LinkedIn courses in, just being ready for the job market, right? And for being your best selves and presenting yourselves well, presenting your work, your creativity, and I think I would like to stress, because it all sounds quite corporate here, and I know that I'm amongst people who are very creative and who value creativity and using that to express themselves, or to using their creativity in their work. And I mentioned at the very beginning that one of the crucial and key skills that we are looking for, especially for jobs in content and all the jobs supporting content, right, is creativity, right? And creativity that's not only kind of a run of the, if you excuse this phrase, run of the mill creativity of just being able to generate something, but something that is really sparky, that's something that's really going to push us into a different direction, something that shows that people can really think differently, right? And that they have examples to show it.
Okay. And so what stands out for you then? Like what has stood out for you in the past? Like when people have really stood out for you, what are the key skills? What have they really done? So you talk about that kind of unique creativity, so not just the run-of-the-mill stuff.
The typical brainstorming thing where you are asking people to, discard the first 10 ideas and go for the following 10, right? So people who stood out for me when I meet them or when I interview them or whatever, is the people who are not going with the first obvious idea for any problem that we give them, or ideas about programming, or ideas about design, or ideas about new shows or treatment of shows and so on. So something that pushes slightly beyond what we've already seen, whether it's in RTE or elsewhere, right? Just give me something that I haven't heard before, right? Because if you're going to, or if candidates just repeat like, oh, we could do a version of the Late Late Show, like, okay.
Well, we already have the Late Late Show, and in fact, it's the longest running talk show in the world.
Like,
so
you're 22 years old. Like, you grew up on whatever, YouTube, TikTok, Snapchat, whatever it is. Like, give me something that I haven't seen, right? Do not give me something that I have watched and that is everywhere, right? So ideas that are unusual, but that are thought through, right? Because if you're going to come to me and say, not to me, but to anyone, something that is completely outlandish and has no connection with RTE or something that is actually achievable, then that's also, there's a disconnect there, right? So showcase that you have that creativity to push it forward, but you actually thought it through of how it can be realized and how it could actually work and why. Probably the biggest question that you can all, and we can all ask ourselves in lives, in our professional lives, is why? Why are you doing this? Why are you suggesting this? Why should we do this? Why are you going for this job? Why really are you going for this job, right? Sometimes you're just going to pay the bills. Sometimes, sometimes there are other considerations. But like, why are you doing this? Why should we be doing this? Why is this idea better than others, etc. So that pushing the envelope a little bit, but also connecting it with real life and real life considerations. Another thing is actually knowing the job or having some sort of an idea of what the job you're going for is, and also knowing something about the company that you're applying for, right? And knowing about the product that this company is selling, producing, or whatever. So if you're going for a job in RTE, but you do not watch RTE, you do not listen to RTE, you do not know any of the RTE talent, you do not know any of the RTE products, like why are you going for a job in RTE then? I do think that you need to know where you'll be working, who you will be working with, right? So you might have opinions about all those programs and all of this, absolutely, 100%. But I wouldn't go for a job in Volkswagen if I didn't know what they produce, what kind of cars they produce, what challenges they face, what their history was, what are the challenges facing motor industries or motor industry. What does it mean? What will EVs mean for Volkswagen, etc., etc. I would be kind of quite well versed in that. So I would expect good candidates for jobs within RTE to have that language as well, right? What else? And preparation, yeah. So I think I mentioned that before, being prepared, because sometimes you've got somebody who seems a great candidate, but they're not really prepared.
And it's the ramble, isn't it? It's the, it's nearly because if you're not answering your questions correctly, if you're not really answering them well, if they're not structured, and you get lost, you can be sure that the interviewer's lost as well. They've lost track of what you said too. But can I just ask you, we won't segue back into the interview again because we've probably covered that. You talked about and yes, by the way, please, anybody who wants another cupcake, don't sit there. If you haven't had one already, come down. We're not doing, what is it? On Will Cadum Dulgadi and Lettuce anymore. You can just come down and grab a cupcake if you want it, and there's tea and coffee if you need a hot refill. You talked about your trajectory being kind of it certainly was a bit squiggly, as you said yourself, but, and within that, I suppose people sometimes, they not only expect it to be a linear trajectory, but they expect it to be a perfect trajectory. And this has been one of my kind of favourite questions of the entire series, actually. What was your most kind of, let me read it now so I get it right. What were your most helpful or most informative mistakes on your journey along the way? What were most helpful or most informative mistakes?
So mistake number one was that I didn't grab those opportunities that Dawn mentioned here, especially when I was doing my undergrad. You're young. I was young once as well, and I think I was focused on other stuff rather than on getting my notebook with scales and all of that. And I did my undergrad in Poland, but there were opportunities there to learn a little bit more about careers or about all of those things that we mentioned here, and I didn't grab those opportunities. The second thing is, when I was studying, I think my mistake was that I didn't learn how to study very well, right? So I think that's a mistake that we all make, that we think that studying just is a natural thing that will happen to, we all know how to study. But I think there's an art to studying, there's an art to taking notes, there's an art of maintaining notes, of reviewing them. And I don't think that I did that very well. And
just, I'm going to stop you there for 1 second. So we do have the Learning Support Centre here. And actually, people think that the learning support means that you have to have a disability or something. Actually, a lot of people fall into that. And learning support is for all students. And it's all about, you're having a problem starting. You don't know where to start. Get in. And they'll sit down with you and go, right, so let's break this down. Bang, bang, bang. So there may be things here now that you didn't even have, or that I definitely didn't have that when I was college. That was not an option. So, there are lots of resources.
No, I regret, for example, that I didn't go when I was in Trinity and I was writing my PhD. I regret that I didn't go to learning support and kind of maybe, didn't talk a couple of things through with them in terms of writing in English, which is not my first language, etc., etc. I was kind of maybe too proud because I was already in my 20s. I'd done my undergrad and I was like, oh, I should know how to write essays, or I should know how to write a PhD. But like, does anybody really know how to write a PhD? Like, you think you just start and it will get you somewhere, but that's not really what it's about. So what else? Communicating. And I'm still learning about that, and I'm still trying better to be a more concise, clear, prepared communicator. So my mistakes were that I like people. I'm a people person. I'm quite, hopefully welcoming or an open person. So you think that will get you through. Do you know what I mean? That's enough. But I don't think it is. Communicating is much more skilled than that and requires constant practice. So the mistake was assuming that my natural talent for connecting maybe with people, hopefully I've got that talent, that's enough, that you don't have to work on that anymore. So if you're a good painter or you're good at drawing, okay, that's enough. I don't have to develop that talent anymore, right? So my mistakes were assuming things as well, assuming that I know how to write an essay, that I don't need information, assuming that studying is, whatever you do in school, so you can take it to university, or you can stop learning when you're working. So that's why I'm mentioning I'm always learning. I always have those notebooks with notes, with lists, with YouTube videos that I want to watch, lists of projects that I want to finish, and so on. So mistakes. And just kind of time management as well, I think. And I saw that you had on one of the screens was like, there's a course in time management available here or something like that. Honestly, like, if you crack time management, you can do so much more than you can when you're kind of flailing from one task to another.
So I think that's next Wednesday on Teams or something, or next Tuesday. I think it's the 25th, whatever the 25th is. Maybe that's a Monday, I can't remember. I think it's the 25th, you can check, but the Learning Support Officer doing look, it's coming up to exams. Here's time management and some study skills kind of stuff. So it's an hour, but like, there's really good key tips in terms of, look, this is what you can do. If you've never heard about the Pomodoro technique, go there and listen to the Pomodoro technique, because it's a game changer. It asks you to do 25 minutes. You set a timer on. It's on the computer. You can get it. You can download it anytime. Pomodoro technique, Pomodora technique, or it's no at the end. It's a no at the end, isn't it? And you do 25 minutes. Anybody can do 25 minutes. You're only asking yourself to do 25 minutes. You get stuck in, then you stop for a break, and then you ask yourself, so how many Pomodoros do you want to do? That's the question. Anybody can do it. So things like that are real game changers, actually. But if we can just move a little bit, I think maybe we'll just. I've got a burning question that I want to ask, but I might leave it till the end and see if you've any other questions. Have you any questions for Zbyszek that you want to ask, or anybody got a question? Yeah, go ahead. Hi, Catherine.
Thanks very much for coming and chatting to us, and Bob, thank you for also facilitating us. It's brilliant. But and I just had a question about, the way you said I get the impression that you like doing many things. So say, for instance, we do manage to get into RT in a particular area of our skill base, but we do get kind of bored and want to move into, say, I don't know, editing
So I did competitions for all the jobs that I had in RTE, yes. But while I was doing those jobs, I would always try to do something extra, right? So I would either, volunteer for things or chat with people about doing something else, or within my team, I would take on an extra role, right? To gain new skills or to showcase new skills or to get to know new people, etc. So if there was events, I would go to those events and volunteer to help out with them and so on internally, right? So that's how I was able to move around, and especially in radio, which is a smaller department, people get to know you quite quickly, so you're able to, and also like a job of a radio producer is so varied that you can be doing, recording one day, editing, researching, writing scripts. You might be in studio, you might be recording bands, you might be creating events, you go on an outside broadcast, so it's like event, obviously you know what an outside broadcast is, but like you go outside, you create an event outside, you do a little bit of logistics in terms of event management and so on. So this job was actually so varied that it was scratching a lot of the itches that I might have had, right? But as I mentioned at the beginning, like the organization wants people to grow and wants people to develop and wants people to find the right fit for them, right? So, but it sometimes requires the right date, the right time, the right opening to happen,
Okay, thanks for that. Anybody else? Anybody got another question? Yeah, go ahead.
Could I just ask, how important do you feel it is to have confidence both in the interview and within the workplace when you're doing any sort of project?
Do you mean like personal confidence or confidence in the?
Well, I think personal. The way
Okay.
you carry yourself,
Okay.
especially in our industry.
Yeah, I actually wanted to mention that in terms of confidence and presenting yourself confidently. Yeah, I listen, it's such a difficult thing to talk about because some of us might be shy, right? And you might come across as not confident, but you're confident. You're just shy, that's just your personality. And as a person who's perhaps slightly less shy than other people, it's sometimes difficult for me to kind of say, like, be more confident, but also, obviously, there are steps you can take. And I see your hand there. There are steps you can take to maybe grow in your own confidence, right? So push yourself out of a comfort zone a little bit every single time, because those little tiny stress fractures help you to grow and help you to get into that zone, right? Put yourself in situations when you feel slightly uncomfortable, but you notch up small wins and record those wins, right? So have a list of things, however corny it sounds, right? A list of things that you're proud of achieving because they were outside of your comfort zone, right? You did at a networking event, you will give yourself, okay, I will speak to 2 people I don't know, right? However much cold sweat is going to be dripping down your back, right? But you will do it. And then afterwards says, okay, I got 50% of it because I spoke to 1 person. But that person might have been an executive from RTE and they remembered me. And then, we met again and they said, oh, do you know what? There's an opening here. You can come, you never know what's going to happen.
Brilliant advice. Like, you're so on it. It's like, it's those little
I'll start
challenges.
charging, Dawn.
Yeah. It's those little challenges that just pushes the needle. That if you start out with the boat and you change the direction by 1 degree, that your actual, where you end up is entirely different than where you would have ended up, right? And it's like, this is exactly what Zbyszek is saying here. You're just pushing the needle a little bit at a time. And you can go into that networking event, because networking is a really scary word. We did some networking this morning though, and it was great crack, right? And I bet you when you came in go, networking what? But then when we told you, no, just go to your favourite slice of pizza, and suddenly you're talking to everybody, right? And you're talking to people, and and you didn't even know it was networking. And that's what it is. So you can help yourself by having a few lines, rather than going in saying, oh, I'll have a few lines about the weather. Think about a few interesting things that you might kind of throw into a conversation. Before you go in, like think about a starter or a question that you want the answer to, and start asking that question to 5 different people. It's the same question, but you're meeting 5 different people that aren't overhearing you.
I think with confidence, just to Because I think it is a really interesting question, because so much is decided on in our interpersonal communication all the time, on your body language, on the first impression that people, however cliched it sounds, it is true. We all make judgments all the time because that's what we have been designed to do.
Anybody from
the very
psychology
start.
here? Anybody from psychology? No? I'm from psychology, right? So yes, that's what you do. You just do it.
And it happens unconsciously, like 99.999999% is happening somewhere in the back to keep us alive and to keep us safe. So we make those judgments all the time, right? So, back to confidence. It sounds so big, right? How to be confident. But also you can break it up as any big task into smaller pieces, right? So a smaller piece would be, what makes me feel confident, right? When you ask yourself that question, what do I feel confident? If I go to a club, right, whatever, or if I go out with friends and I feel that was a good night because I was on fire, right? What made you feel like this? Was it your clothes? Was it the music beforehand? Was it that you got into your groove in terms of conversation? You met somebody who listened to the same music as you do, or was dressed in a similar way and you clicked, or whatever, right? So then take those little lessons from that feeling that you had, right? And apply it into a professional setting. So if it's conversation, prepare a couple of topics that would be germane to that professional setting, right? So for me, going into IADT and knowing that I'll meet people who are into design or whatever, I would probably have somewhere in my back pocket a couple of references to design, to designers, to Irish artists, to music. I walked around, I looked, where your radio studios are, where your TV studios are. I orientated myself slightly in the space to feel that I kind of knew where I was, right?
I completely love that you did that, by the way. That you just came in and you walked around and found where the radio... there's few of us that have worked here for 3 months without finding that particular radio studio. So, so that's a really, I love that you did that. Orienting yourself to the space is a really cool thing to do.
I sometimes say to people who come for interviews or whatever, just sit here, look around. Like, how many lights are here? What is the kind of temperature of the room? What is your breath? Your heart is going, a million miles an hour. So just like, we're all human beings, I'm experiencing it, you're experiencing it. It's nothing alien, right? But we need to find a way of getting through it and get you to perform in the best way, me to get the best out of you, and then we can go home and watch Succession.
Yeah, because exactly. Love Succession. So, there's nothing worse for an interviewer than knowing that the person across from them is really good, but they can't give them the points. There's nothing more heartbreaking. You're trying, because you are there as an interviewer, and I've interviewed on many panels, as I'm sure you have, and your heart is break because their CV is great. You've got it on their CV, and it's there, but they're not saying it.
One other thing that is a good tip for confidence, sorry, Dawn,
yeah, go ahead.
I'm still thinking about the confidence.
I love the way you got confidence on the break.
Is like knowledge and being sure of your skills, that you are the master of your skills. Like, what you're talking about.
And that doesn't mean you have to be expert, by the way. You're graduating. No. Nobody's expecting you to be expert. Where are the IT developers here? But there's 5 things I don't know about Java. It's okay. You don't need to know everything about Java.
The IT developers, Dawn, are probably already working somewhere.
They're missed their projects. Okay, so do you have any more questions? Yes, sorry, Casey, go on.
Actually, I have 2, if that's okay. And I also wanted to follow on. This is just spitballing, but I think it's kind of important to know that confidence doesn't necessarily equal extroversion. It doesn't necessarily equal. It's just.
Yeah, and I think that was exactly what you were saying there, wasn't it? About being quiet.
Confidence to being able to admit what you don't know and ask someone in particular. So, anyway, so my questions are kind of quite RTE specific, but I hope that's okay. The first one was I'm a film student personally. I'm in 2nd year, and I'm wondering and I'm kind of particularly interested in camera work, and a few other things as well. But I'm wondering how much of the stuff that we learned in film about producing narrative stuff that isn't live broadcast, how much that would transfer over to broadcasting, in terms of whether it would be necessary to do an extra like 1-year course after we graduate if we wanted to go into TV cam work or if we wanted to go into TV broadcasting in general, or also like even the style of production between how it differs between making a pre-recorded show for TV and making a film. I'm somewhat aware of the differences, but there's definitely some hazy spots, and I think a teardrop would be useful. And I guess I'll probably say the other question now, but then I can.
Okay, so hold on. So
Sure.
just to stop you for 1 second.
Sure.
What was the first question?
Okay, the first question is
In one sentence, Casey. One sentence, like one. Yeah.
Skills. How well do the skills that I would learn in a very narrative films focused course transfer over to broadcast production?
Okay, so very quickly, RTE produces very little drama or almost no drama because all our drama productions are co-productions, right? So if you look at your Kins or whatever series you might look at, this is a co-production, right? So you'll be working with an independent production company rather than within RTE, right? So that's number one. So your narrative feature length or feature film making skills, right, might not be utilized in RTE as much because the drama that we produce in-house is First City, right? So of course you can, you can try and get a job on First City, then you're working as a camera person on First City, and then your narrative skills of feature film making are utilized there. That's number one. Number two is that I hope I get what you're saying about narrative skills of filmmaking.
Yeah, but even on a techie side, like in terms of like camera operating and stuff like that, because like having a look at the TV cameras in the studio, it seems relatively straightforward. With a knowledge of how to use cinema cameras, it seems similar enough.
I think, Casey, it's a bit of a mix of attitude in terms of like I'm willing to learn. Yeah. So like I have all these skills from the cameras and the camera work and the technology side that I gained in college. I know that it's different, but listen, give me 2 weeks and I'll be flying, right? Because I've already researched the cameras that you're using and they are Sony blah, 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 blah. And I've read all about them. And
I've looked it up on YouTube,
exactly.
So I know I'm learning how to use it.
And I've already gone through the menus in them and I know that I have to change RGB into something, whatever. I'm not a camera person, so please do not shoot me. And, whatever it is. So while I don't have a direct experience, or I have maybe not extensive experience working in that setting, I am very willing to learn. I have already taken the first steps to learn about them. And this is my plan to make sure that I'm up to scratch and ready to work within a very short period of time afterwards.
Yeah, and it's the same with any organization actually. It's the same when you're going for anything. Go back to IT. I don't know if any IT heads are here, but I don't know that language that you're talking about. But I did become expert in this. You're showing that you've learned languages, and that if you've learned 3 languages in IT, you're absolutely able to learn another language. If you know how to use 2 cameras brilliantly, you will absolutely learn how to use another camera even though you've never used it before. So you're showing the fact that you're able to use these cameras brilliantly, and that acts as testament to being able to use another camera brilliantly. So thanks for those questions.
There's a second question.
Was that only the first one? Come on, Casey,
Sorry.
come on.
The other thing is that this is a bit more of a complicated one. But,
oh no.
It could be slightly, by controversial, I mean maybe, I don't want to say controversial, but it's the first word that's coming to my head. Basically, I'm trans, I use they, them pronouns, and I'm kind of wondering what kind of work environment RTE is for, I guess LGBT people in general, but particularly trans people, because there's quite a few more issues that kind of come up when you're trans because of like pronouns and the right language.
Okay, so I don't think that's complicated, controversial at all. I think that's a great question, and I think you're asking particularly the right person for this question.
We are a very open, inclusive environment for people from all different backgrounds, from all different communities. We welcome all, we cherish all people, and we champion all people who work in RTE, and we want to make sure that everybody has a fantastic time working there. So, there's no, I don't see any issues for anyone who joins us from any community, right?
Is there, because I know the creative industry is generally, proportionally speaking, there's usually a fair few more folks like me or like anyone who kind of falls out the norms of gender and sexuality. I'm kind of wondering what the makeup of RTE is like in terms of, would I be likely to have many co-workers who are also trans? Because that's another thing that I'd be kind of interested in, especially.
Okay, and so that's your third and final question now. Just okay.
Well, I guess
so
it's
Zbyszek,
kind of-
you go. Yeah, I get it. No,
So-
it's important. I'm not saying it's not important. It's a really important
Yeah,
question.
these
It's
are
just-
very important questions.
Yeah,
I think it's when you move into a professional, from college into a professional setting, I think the world slightly changes when it comes to, when you're in college, you have a lot of societies, you have a lot of kind of extracurricular activities and so on. So those personal bonds between people are of a different nature than the nature that you have in terms of professional environment, right? Because a lot of people already have families, they might have other stuff going on in their lives and so on. What I'm trying to say is that it's slightly different if you compare it to your life now to what your life might be when you work in a company, any company, right? However, having said that, RT has a couple of employee resource groups. So these are, groups of people who come together because they share a certain characteristic or a certain kind of outlook on life or interest and so on. We have RT Pride Group. So we have a group for LGBTQ employees and their allies. We have a women's network. So, there are opportunities to meet other people who are LGBTQ or to do that allyship work with other colleagues, etc., etc. So that's, I'm a migrant myself from a minority, from a language minority, from an ethnic minority here in Ireland, and I always felt RTE to be, incredibly inclusive throughout my 15 years there. And, I am working every single day to make sure that it, remains very welcoming to everyone, and that it does its very best to maintain the highest standards when it comes to inclusion and when it comes to including everyone actively day in, day out.
Zbyszek, can I ask you, if we were to finish this session on one note, could I just ask you, what are the two key skills? If you were to give two pieces of advice on the key skills that people require to really be successful from where they're at now, they're just either finishing college or they're coming up to finishing college, or they're in second year or they're in third year or they're in first year. What are the two key skills that you have seen that have really kind of turned that, moved that needle? What do you really value when you see somebody?
Willingness to learn, right? So that's number one. Like, never stop learning, never stop exploring, your topic, whatever it is, whether it's a craft role in terms of editing or whatever it is. Like, always staying on top of your brief in a way, whatever the role is, whether it's a technical role or not, whatever, staying on top of your brief, not kind of sitting back and saying, oh, well, I know everything, I have done this and that, so I'm fine now, right? So I really, and I'm trying to employ that in my own life in terms of learning all the time, learning from you, learning from younger people, etc., etc., knowing what's important for you, all of that. So I think willingness and kind of being in that learning mindset all the time is important for me, and I think it's a good thing to have in your career. And I think soft skills are so important, so it's like hard skills and staying on top of them, but soft skills. So the ability to work in teams, and it's such a, there's so much talk about, how to work in teams or teamwork, what does it mean and so on, but how to really contribute in teams, right? How to let other people contribute. How to get the best out of your teamwork.
So it's not all about your voice or what you come up with. It's actually facilitating other people so that everybody can grow.
Yeah.
Right.
So I think it's communication skills, teamworking skills, those softer skills, right? And then how to harness your creativity, how to really harness it. So creativity is a muscle, and it's not something that kind of descends upon you from high above, and all of a sudden you're struck with some amazing. Sometimes it happens, but sometimes you just have to show up for it every single day. Show your work, work on it, you know, iterate, change it, make it different, learn from other people, show it again, get feedback, you know, once again, go through that whole process. So being in that process as a creative person and thinking like, how else could I do it? What other angles I could take it to. Yeah, so I think like, yeah, so those harder skills, there's nothing kind of more exciting than seeing somebody who really knows their stuff and really kind of like just flies on that keyboard editing something, or really knows what the beats will be for a video edit or an audio edit, or somebody who like just I don't know, has like this amazing file storage organization on their hard drive, and you're just like, oh my gosh, they really know what they're talking about here, you know? Or they're showing me something that I've never seen before, and it's like, this is how you can do it, right? So that's like super sexy. And then people who, not into professional, of course, sentiment.
No, we got it.
And then another thing is people who really know how to work, you know, how to show up, how to be punctual, how to be prepared, know their stuff, know how to work with others, are courteous, you know, are willing to work, just are ready for it, and are kind of also know that you have to work on how to work.
So Zbyszek, Zalinski, can I just say you are a legend? Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much, Dawn.
No, honestly, it's phenomenal to have you here, to give us our windows into RTE, to know that that's actually a possibility for us, because a lot of times we don't think it is, right? We don't think those doors are open, and we certainly don't think there are any windows there. So you know, and that's just because it's something we've probably known all our lives that's there, and it seems too big sometimes. It just seems it's too big. So actually you coming here and breaking it down is phenomenal in terms of just giving of your time to do that and to be here.
Dawn, thank you so much, first of all, and just wanted to finish on this. We really want you to apply for jobs. We really want people to come, apply, be creative, bring new energy, bring your ideas, your creativity, your passions, your energy, your enthusiasm, your experiences, your dedication, all of that, right? So please keep refreshing the vacancies website, apply, go through the processes, right? And if it doesn't work out the first time, please try again, right? We are open, we are inclusive, we are welcoming to all, and you know, there are no barriers there. And we're really actively looking for everyone from all different communities, walks of lives and outlooks. Join us to be part of RTE and what we do, because it's so important. Public service broadcasting is so important to Ireland, to who we are, to our heritage, to how we see ourselves as a society, as a nation. So that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you so much. Can we say thank you?
Thank you. Thank you.
Session.